The Wake Up Call with Anna Cookson
and Duncan Larkham. Call 0800 756 1111.
BBC Radio Kent.
6 minutes past 8. Lots of you getting in touch about the NHS this morning. But let's pick up on the politics of all this now. You'll remember that last week, well, this week even, it seems like a long time ago, but it was actually this week, Boris Johnson announced a £1.8 billion cash injection for the NHS. Experts are calling it a drop in the ocean. Let's see what Karen Constantine makes of all of this. A Labour councillor in Thanet, a member of the Kent Health and Overview Scrutiny Committee. So, Karen, there's been much funfair around this extra funding, but much cynicism as well. Where do you stand?
Well, firstly, good morning. And it was great to hear Mary being so upbeat about the NHS. And it's always really important to say a big thank you to our NHS staff. But on that particular point, I'm sure where that money has been, that £1.8 billion has been put into places, I'm sure people, both staff and patients there, are really delighted. But the rest of us, frankly, are asking a couple of really significant questions. The first one, politically, is that new money? The Health Foundation, the Nuffield Trust, etc., the various Royal Colleges are all thinking that it, in fact, isn't new money, but it's money that hospitals have already saved under measures that they're now being allowed to spend. So that's the first thing. And then the second bigger political question is there a general election coming? Because this seems like a sweetener. And perhaps why we don't have any of this cash in Kent is perhaps because the Conservatives see Kent as a very safe Tory area. But from where I'm standing, with issues that Rosie Duffield has outlined with William Harvey A&E and QEQM at Margate, with the removal of the stroke unit from Thanet across to Ashford, it seems to me that there are huge issues opening up here. And it's not just a matter of like creating new buildings. As Mary spoke before, it's actually really mission critical now, the issue of staffing. Staffing is becoming so threadbare that the truth is, where you've got staff, they're now being called upon to do extra work all the time and are becoming increasingly tired and exhausted. And that's no way to treat the workforce.
Indeed. On that point of new money, the government are insisting that it is. I don't have the answer, but it's to give the governmental line there. And of course, you're right. A lot of people are saying, well, it's all very well spending money on infrastructure, but what we need are staff. So what do you think needs to happen here in Kent to make sure we have enough nurses, just to have enough and stop them being exhausted, the ones we already have?
Well, we need the government to take full responsibility. The government shifted responsibility away from the government itself with the introduction of the Health and Social Care Act. And we need to re-implement the Health and Social Care Act. So actually the buck does stop with the government. Now, what I see repeatedly on the Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee is that everybody locally is trying to do their best. They're trying to make things fit, but there's frankly not enough money and nowhere near enough staff now to go around, which is really creating crisis.
So what would Labour do differently?
Well, we're looking at identifying we're looking at £30 billion of extra funding, and what we've done is we've said that money that's for NHS plus £8 billion for social care, and we've identified in our what we call the Grey Book where that money will come from. We've also worked really closely with the various Royal Colleges and trade unions, Health Foundation, etc., the independent NHS experts, to work with them to see how we best fix this problem. But it's a massive upstream issue. We need to be investing in the next generation of NHS workforce now, at all levels, so GPs, community pharmacists, community psychiatric nurses, right through to social care workers. And the longer we leave it, the more difficult this is going to become. This is the tail end now of almost a decade of underinvestment in the NHS, and chickens are coming home to roost.
Well, I'll tell you what, Karen, we will put all of that to the MP for North Thanet, Sir Roger Gale, when we speak to him later on in the show. But thank you so very much. That's Labour councillor in Thanet, Karen Constantine. Before that, Mary Tunbridge from the East Kent Hospitals Trust.
Interesting allegation there from Karen that, as I wrote it down as she said it, Kent is seen as a safe Conservative area, which is why, in her view, none of the 1.8 billion extra announced this week is heading our way.